Hello, class. Welcome. My name is Drew Fitzgerald, and this is going to be my problem solving project for OMT 156 here at Cape Fear Community College. And let's begin. So, for my problem solving project, I have decided to choose my father's business. Um, my father owns a driver's ed company by the name of Southeastern Driver Training Center. That's our logo right over there. A little bit about the business. It's founded back in 2015 by, of course, my father, Joe Fitzgerald. And let me get this in the screen here. Here we go. The important thing about the business to me is that my father grew up in a police background. He spent about 12 years on the force. And during his time there, he was called a crash reconstructionist. That's what he did for most of his, I guess you can call it, career there. And what he would do is maybe if it was a fatal crash or not even fatal, just a deadly crash in general, he would get called to the scene to kind of put together the pieces of how the accident may have happened, maybe how fast they were going, just details about the crash and stuff like that. So that was his position. Doing that for a great amount of time, of course, kind of inspires someone to make a difference in that field, in that aspect. So with that, he decided to create his own driver's ed business. He had a fascinating interest for our roads and our community in that way. So, like I said, founded back in 2015. It teaches, of course, driver's ed. So it's going to be road signs, good decision making on the road, defensive driving techniques, just important things to know to prepare people for maybe their permit or their license, as all driver's ed schools do. We've all kind of been through that, right? So that's kind of what he does. And an important fact to keep in mind is that there's about 28 students per session for him. So it's 28 students. They're going to need, I believe it's a certain amount of class time, but I know it's about 8 hours worth of driving. So we'll keep that in mind for the next slide. But with that, it averages around 700 kids a year. Which is a pretty good number. So yeah, that's my dad's business. What I'll be doing is the Southeastern Driver Training Center. So with that being said, let's get to our problem in the situation, right? That's what we're here for. Case in point, we need more instructors. We need people to help these kids out on the roads and even in the classrooms. I mean, my dad can't, do all 700 kids by himself, right? Of course, he does have instructors, but it's always good to have more. So let's dive into it. So to become an instructor, it takes about a 2-week course, an 80-hour course to go with that. And most people are kind of skeptical whenever they hear a class. Some people are like, you know what? I'll go to a different venue, especially those who maybe have already done a lot of classwork themselves in another aspect of their life. Maybe they're done with that. I'm just kind of naming off examples of why people maybe wouldn't want to become an instructor. So that way we can dissect it in the coming slide, right? So the pay can be a little displeasing at times. That's a really good spot to talk about. I know we pay hours, $25 an hour, which sounds good to a 20-year-old college student, but it's not really a fulfilling career in that aspect for the money. It's not the best, especially if you've got a family, right? So. And of course, I mentioned there's 700 kids a year around, give or take, and they all need to get on the roads and drive, right? And that can be a lot. We need a good amount of instructors to help get those kids on the road. See, the biggest problem in our industry is that there's so many kids out there, but there's not enough instructors, so it becomes sort of a weight to get into these not the class part of it, but to get part of the driving part of it. It sometimes takes months and months for them just to get on the roads and start to experience that part of the driver's ed. That's what I would call our biggest problem in the industry. I talked with my father about that. So, just another thing to kind of add on to this, I put at the end here. The more quality instructors we have, the better our roads are in the future. If we can create a less of a stressful environment, that goes with weight load, pay, all that good stuff. it helps us in the long run. It helps our customer base. It helps our roads become safer because people are passionate about the job and help teach and want to, be involved. I believe a good teacher can really make a difference in a new driver, whether that's permanent or licensed. They can make a really big difference in how they drive for the rest of their lives. Let's be honest. So that's a big deal. So it's a big responsibility to become an instructor. They don't get really paid as much as they need to, which brings me to my next slide. How are we going to solve this problem? So let's kind of go through that. Of course, I'd start off with increasing pay. Now, how the pay works usually is that the instructor gets paid along with the company. So it kind of depends on how many students they have. Like I said, our company does $25 an hour, but that kind of depends upon, it can increase or even maybe decrease depending on how well the business is doing. So what I would personally do is give them a bigger share. Maybe if it's a few dollars more, anything to keep it enticing, because it's a long job. I mean, I've personally met the instructors that we work with, or my father worked with. Excuse me, I'm not really a part of the business, but I feel like I am. I've met with them. They're long days. I mean, you're stuck in the car with kids and for probably more than half of your day. Definitely, well, not even half, probably all of your day, actually. And I mean, of course, we all have met some kids that are just kind of difficult to deal with. And of course, honestly, the kids kind of put the instructors at risk because I don't know if you've ever been in the car with a new driver before, but it could be scary, right? So it's kind of a lot. They deserve a good, rewarding pay for what they do. Manageable loads, making sure they're not overwhelmed at their job and their business, creating that good environment. Like I said before, stress is something we want to avoid. So a stressful work environment, a lot of kids, we want to avoid that point. I believe that would, that really helps out the instructors not having too crazy of a load. Like, I've got to do this student this day, then the next day, and all of it kind of piles up with the 700 kids a year and 28 kids in a class, right? It just kind of gets a lot. The more instructors we get, of course, that kind of dissipates, but we want to make sure that even if there's a lower amount, they get treated, right, So, and with that, also with increasing pay, I would offer them benefits, maybe holiday specials like a Christmas bonus, and maybe even car insurance for our drivers. I know all of our cars are insured, but any way we can help them out would be really useful for them. I believe that could really make a difference in helping draw in people. But this is what the point is. Let's talk about how to solve it. What I have suggested is advertise this better. My main strategy, and you'll see the reach a better demographic part at the bottom there, is to advertise this to retired teachers. Teachers who maybe want to get out of the school business, but don't want to get out of teaching. Maybe they want to make a difference in a different way. You know what I'm saying? So what I would do is go around to schools and post up flyers for this opportunity. Notice how you're still teaching, you're still making a difference, still getting the pay, all that good stuff, but you're not part of the school system. Maybe you want to get into that. That's what I would do personally. I'd advertise this better, advertise on LinkedIn and, the other website, forgive me, I blanked, but advertise it better online, in person, to get the word out, because I don't see any advertisements for anything like this, but then again, maybe I'm not looking. But I believe you advertise this better, create better pay, a better work environment, this would be an amazing job for someone. I know I've even thought about it for the future, and I'm only 20. I've even thought about helping out and doing this in the future. So that's what I believe that would really make a difference out there for my father and our business if we advertise this a little better, make it more enticing, right? So in conclusion, I'll go through this here. Better pay, advertising, and benefits means more instructors. That's kind of what I was touching on here. And more instructors means less of a wait for students. The more instructors, of course, the less of the massive wait list that we have to deal with. A month-long wait list for these kids, which helps out our business, helps out the morale of not only the kids and the instructors, but also the parents too. So better instructors means safer roads in the long run. With that being said, I believe this is a simple problem. I know there's not much to go about for this, but I think it is a passion of mine to help out my father with this business. I'm going to, be a big part of it. Advertising the instructors would be better. increasing the pay, making them feel like they're appreciated. Because it's, like I said, it's long days. So I feel like that would really draw in a good crowd. And of course, going to people like retired teachers, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a fantastic idea to get them in to the business. So with that being said, that's my problem, and I know I for sure I've solved it. So thank you all so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day or night wherever you may be at, and thank you again. Have a wonderful day.